Hey guys, well, let's jump right into it because I'm sure that everybody wants to know what's going on with me, right? First of all, thank you guys so much for your comments and your concerns and your emails and personal messages and everything about my hospital stay. I guess I'll just tell you what happened. I'll tell you kind of how I'm doing now, and we'll kind of go from there. Friday morning, I woke up and about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my heart was just like in my chest going like real, like it's so intense. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck is that? But in typical me fashion, I just kind of blew it off and was like, whatever, not an issue. And so didn't do anything about it. That morning, I woke up. My morning routine. You guys are gonna get some more. You guys are gonna get to know more information about me that you don't want to know. First, my routine when I wake up in the morning is I hear the baby cry. I get out of bed. I go pee right there, and then right over there on the floor is my scale, and I get on my scale, and then go downstairs and get the kids. Well, I had a little issue that morning with doing that because I could barely get out of bed. I could barely walk across the room. I went to the bathroom, but the whole time I'm like swaying back and forth. And my heart was going kind of crazy. And I'm like, this is really weird. My arm hurt. I'm like, oh no. But of course, I still got on the scale, but it wouldn't even weigh me because I was so inconsistent with my weight, distributing my weight because I was trying to stay balanced. So I ended up just getting off of it, and I actually just kind of stumbled back and fell back on the bed, and called my wife because I thought my wife had went to work, and I was like, she's going to come because I can't even get out of bed to feed this kid. And I called her, and she's like, I've got Emma, and I'm like, you got Emma? And she's like, I'm downstairs. I'm like, oh, thank God for you deciding to go in late today. And so I was like, I think I'm pretty bad. I think I might need to go to the hospital. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. So I was upstairs for a little while. Finally got up the strength to kind of put some shorts on and put a shirt on and stuff. And I went downstairs, and of course she's just kind of like hanging out watching the news. And I'm like, come on, we gotta go. So finally she was like, all right, let's go. Wasn't really taking, she was just kind of taking her sweet time because she was kind of like, whatever, it's just typical Staley, which I told you before. When I'm sick, I'm like, I'm dying. So she kind of assumed that was the deal with me. But I was really scared. I was getting scared, and I started like almost panicking. And I've never struggled with panic attacks or anything like that. In fact, I'm assuming what I had was a panic attack, and I never have them. And so I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm just like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And my arm is hurting, and I'm like, oh no, I'm having a heart attack. And finally, she stepped on it, and she pulled up, and I didn't even wait for her. I just got out of the car and walked straight in. And there's always a security guard and like a valet guy at the emergency room. And the valet guy went for the car, and the security guy was like, "Can I get you a wheelchair?" And I'm like, "I don't have time. I gotta go." And he's like, "Okay, okay, okay." And he just walked with me all the way to the desk. I got out. I got up to the desk, and I full blown just started bawling. I mean, I was like freaking out so much. And they're like, take him straight back. So they took me straight back and hooked me up to a monitor and found that my heart was going crazy. I mean, it was scary enough for them that they took the EKG, ripped it out of the machine, just put it in the other girl's face. Her eyes got big, and she goes, "Go now." And so they ran out, and I'm just like, what's going on? She's like, I'm not allowed to tell you because I'm not a doctor. And I'm like, just tell me if I'm going to die. So they got me back in the room. They started hooking up, and then the doctor came straight in, a cardiologist actually, not just a doctor, but a cardiologist. And he's like, you're going into what's called A-Fib. And I was like, what's A-Fib? And he's like, well, it's arterial fibrillation. And he's like, it happened. It's kind of an off your there's a perfect rhythm, which I described in my last videos. Your heart goes boom, 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 whatever. I'm making up that rhythm because I'm not really exactly sure. But or even if it's bump, 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 and the top goes bump, and the bottom goes bump, and the top goes bump, and the bottom goes bump. Um, well, basically, uh, he said there's two different types of A-Fib. He's like, one that the top goes bump and the bottom goes and the top goes bump and the bottom goes and so it just kind of goes crazy. He's like, and then there's the extreme case where the top just goes and the bottom goes da, 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 and the top's not doing anything. And they found that that's what I had. So the top part of my heart was no longer beating, and the bottom of my heart was going psycho. Um, he assured me that I wasn't going to die from it, but I could get a stroke from it. So they immediately put me on blood thinners and through my IV and everything, and we started going from there. He's like, "You're not going anywhere, so don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon." And I'm like, "Oh, for a few hours?" He's like, "No, for days." And I'm like, "What?" So they got me up in a room, and it was kind of weird because my mom was always kind of a head honcho at the hospital in my hometown. So anytime I got sick, I always got a private room and all this kind of stuff. So this time I was just a Joe Schmo, and I had like some like Mexican guy next to me dying, and no one spoke English. And obviously, if you watch my last video, you would see that. And so it was kind of freaky. It was pretty freaky. So about 24 hours later, I just came out of it. And basically, they found that my thyroid was kind of going a little crazy. They think that what happened was I got sick, and I got kind of a viral thing, and it kind of invaded my thyroid, and then just my thyroid kind of got hyperactive, and that caused me to go into A-Fib. Typically, people that have A-Fib will have A-Fib for the rest of their lives. However, the cardiologist is under the thinking right now. Now, I don't see him again for another month because he won't see me for a month, but he's under the understanding right now that he said basically if it's a hyperactive thyroid, and they also think, and this is the big one, because there is a possibility that this is a complication of my surgery. Don't get freaked out about it. It's very, very rare. I've talked to my surgeon about it. It's very, very rare, but they're testing me. They don't see that I am, but a lot of times if people get magnesium deficient, they can trigger A-Fib. Caffeine can trigger A-Fib. I don't do caffeine at all since my surgery, at all. I mean, no coffee, no. Even my tea is decaf, so I get maybe a little bit because nothing's pure decaf. But that's it. That's it. I don't do chocolates and sweets and all that kind of stuff. So it's like I'm getting no caffeine from anything, and I'm really careful about it. I like not living on caffeine. So B12 is my caffeine. So they're like, that's not it. I don't drink, so that's not it. And so, but what we found was on Thursday, I really struggled getting my fluids in. More than just struggled, but I mainly just didn't try. And so I had maybe a 16-ounce bottle of water that whole day, and I think maybe I had like a small glass before I went to bed. That's all I had. I was really busy trying to get some stuff done, and I just didn't think about drinking. And so I didn't get my fluids in. Dehydration can cause A-Fib, or cause an A-Fib attack. So they think it was the thyroid and the dehydration that caused it. Because I came out of it myself, which usually they have to like put you under and actually use the paddles, the emergency paddles, and then shock your heart back into a rhythm. So I didn't have to have that. Thank God. Came out of it by itself, and I was still there for another day while they monitored me. Never went back, and I had some issues. They put me on a beta blocker, which basically kind of stops your heart from going too fast, and then they put me on a blood thinner, Coumadin, and so the problem is that I don't think I need to be on either one of those. Um, the issue that we ended up having was that I was seeing a cardiologist, an endocrinologist, and for the thyroid, and I was also seeing just the doctor that was on call. My doctor doesn't make visits to this hospital, and so because there's like a fee to like go there, and she's not going to pay the fee. So I just see whoever they've got. I had the same doctor, except on the last day I had this guy, and I'm telling you, he probably didn't know his own name. I mean, I don't usually talk bad about medical people, but this guy was terrible. And so the the endocrinologist and the cardiologist were on the same page. Release him. Meds are probably not needed. Let's just monitor him, get him in. Let's not even do. They were going to do a big contrast, where they put in contrast and all this, and like do the scan of me. They're going to do that. They decided not to do that. So, but he was like, well, I don't have those recommendation. I have some recommendation fears, and so I'm going to go ahead and put you on these drugs. They weren't even for him to prescribe. They were for the cardiologist to prescribe, and the cardiologist didn't deem them necessary. Well, guess what happened? I had to give myself some blood thinner shots. My stomach looks like somebody just punched on it for 6 hours. Every time I give myself a shot, I get a baseball-sized bruise from the blood thinners. And then on top of that, my ankle swelled up about the size of my head, which is a lot smaller now, but it's still the size of my head. And so that's bad. So I just went to the doctor today, and my doctor is taking me off of the beta blockers because she said I pulled myself off of them once I started getting edema, and which is the swelling of the ankle stuff like that. But anyways, once I started getting that, I pulled myself off of them and just made a call to the doctor and said I'm coming in, I'm not doing them. So I haven't taken them for like a day and a half, and I've been doing fine. So my edemas went away, and my resting heart rate is 45. That's a really, really good resting heart rate. Overweight people typically have it in the 60s to 70s. So 45 means that when my body is resting, it's resting well. When I'm doing activities, like when I had A-Fib, when I went to the bathroom, I shot up to like 170, 180. But now it's like 66 when I'm like doing the dishes or cleaning around the house, cooking dinner, something like that. So, and I haven't had the chance. The beta blockers will make me really funky if I try to work out. So I'm not allowed to work out until I'm completely out of beta blockers. And so, but I'm off of them now. But they still say give it a few days to kind of work out of your system. And so, so it stinks, but I'm okay. I'm alive. There was some fear. Here's the good thing. So we started talking about it. My doctor and I talked about it and everything, and she said, A-Fib, it stinks that you get it, and you are going to be prone to it for the rest of your life. But she's like, here's the thing. Something major happened with your heart. And let's say it wasn't just the dehydration, but let's say it was actually like it was your thyroid. I don't know that you would have made it. She's like, I think that it would have been, you would have probably had a stroke when you went into A-Fib. And if you didn't go and have a stroke, you might have actually just went and had a heart attack. She's like, having your surgery and losing the weight that you have saved your life. She's like, you're alive right now because you had this surgery. She's like, there's no doubt in my mind. She's like, your body could not, she's like, I know your body, and your body could not have handled something like this 5 or 6 months ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that really made me feel very good. So if you ever ask me, do I regret having the surgery? No. Doing good. So doing good. Other than that, my weight, I've only lost 2 pounds, but here's the kicker. I've actually lost more, but I'm still going with my weigh in was yesterday. I usually make my videos on Wednesday. Today is actually Thursday. And so my Thursday weigh-in, I'm actually a couple pounds less, but you don't get to know that, or you already do. So yesterday I weighed in at 336, right? 336, which is like a 2-pound weight loss. I went down since then. So actually, the day before I weighed in what I weighed in today. So, but I think it could have been the edema. But we're just gonna go ahead and say this week I've already officially clocked it in on my little deal, and I weigh that. So that's a 133, 34 pound weight loss. So not gonna argue with that one. Not at all. I like it. So moving forward, other than that, hospital was really hard with food. First of all, they put me on a bariatric diet. The bariatric diet, because it was the same hospital that I had my surgery at. The bariatric diet is purees and broths. So my menu was kind of weak looking. And I'm like, can I get another menu? Like, I don't understand. And she's like, and the nurse looked at it and she's like, oh, your doctor. She's like, it was the doctor on call. She knew you had the surgery, so she just said put him in for a bariatric diet. And so, and then she's like, oh yeah, okay, put him on a carb control diet because I think they can't have carbs. So they gave me this menu that was loaded full of carbs, but they just monitor your carbs. So you're not allowed to have over like 45 grams of carbs. And so like, but everything on it was like carb central. And so I'm just like, what the heck? So what I ended up starting to do is I would order two hamburgers, which were little hamburgers. I'd order two cheeseburgers because they were sirloin cheeseburgers, so I knew they'd have a little less fat content. And I would barely get in under that bubble, and I would just eat those. So all I was eating was protein. They didn't offer any vegetables. So I'm like, this is the worst diet in the world. So it's terrible. So that was frustrating to me. But so I'm home now. I'm pretty weak. So that's why I know some people have said, "Hey, how are you doing?" and stuff like that. Like thinking I was home. I've just been really weak. Made a huge mistake the other night. Well, not a huge. No, take this back. I bought a new car. I think I mentioned in my previous actual Thursday vlog that I was going to buy a car. Well, I went ahead and bought the Commander. My wife got a new job, and basically she's making a ton more money, and so we can comfortably buy a new car, and we'll be, it's like before it was like if we bought a new car, it'd be a little tight, but we've been kind of holding it back, waiting to see before we announced it. But yeah, she did find a new job. She's actually going to be the boss now. She's going to run a rehab facility. And so she's got a pretty significant raise from where she is now. Not quite as much as we wanted, but we were being kind of greedy with what we wanted. So they gave us like $2 less an hour. But she'll get that with her first raise probably. So we went out and we got a new car. And I was actually thinking about really going and seriously doing it that Saturday because she found out Friday. She actually wasn't in the room with me. She was on her last phone like interview or whatever with like the director of like the company. And so while I was getting all checked out and everything at the hospital, which I knew it, and I told her, I was like, don't feel bad, just go do it. Like if I'm dying, they'll come and get you. So we bought a new car. And I have never negotiated like this ever. I mean, it was like, are you ridiculous? Are you serious? Like, I was like, he made me angry at one point, and it's like, we bought a used one this time. I mean, it's a 2010, so it's not like it's killer used. But we bought a Jeep Commander. I'll do a video some other time and show you guys. This is already going to be a 25-minute video probably, if not more. So, but I wanted you guys to know that I'm alive and kind of explain everything to you because I know people have had concern. So basically, bought the car, came home that night, and then I thought I was going back into A-Fib. I mean, I was so exhausted. I hadn't eaten dinner. Hadn't drank anything. I was dehydrated. I mean, it was terrible. Like, just absolutely terrible. And so, but we got the car, right? So it's been kind of slow getting back into the swing of things, but I'm back in as much as I can, enjoying life, enjoying my kids, enjoying everything. So I'm still alive. I'm going to be here for a little bit longer. So I know some of you are like, So, yeah, so that's that. And I'll talk to you guys later. I love you guys. And I'll try to respond back to some of your responses. Some people ask me specific questions, and I'll try to respond, but some of the emails got deleted, and so I don't know who messaged me what. So I'm sorry, but continue to comment. So Connie got her surgery yesterday. I haven't watched any videos to see how she is. Hey. Okay. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace out. G strings.